So Halloween's coming up, and I wanted to do an origin about it. I mean, it's not coming up, it's like 2 months more, but I'm gonna be forgetting about this origin by then. And yeah, I just wanted to cover it because I think it's a real good origin and no one else has covered it. It is it was made quite a while ago, I think like 2 months ago. So yeah, this is the Undead Controller origin made for 1.7 made for 1.16, but I am playing it on 1.17, so and there aren't any issues, so you should be fine with that. And yeah, this was made by the Discord user Pro from the Origins Discord. And I also do recommend using this Figura model. I'm sure you recognize it from the Saturn video on the Necrobone origin. So yeah, I don't know who exactly made this Figura model, but I mean, he should show up on screen right now. And yeah, let's get into it. Before I get into this video, I just want to mention that according to YouTube statistics, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. So if you like this video, please consider subscribing. It's free and helps out a ton. And yeah, let's move on. Now, moving on to your first ability, you have Summon Zombie, which very self-explanatory. So you can summon a zombie, yeah. But in order to do this, you have to actually hold a piece of rotten flesh and then press your primary key. And then you can summon a zombie with random equipment. Like, he's not always going to have a chainmail chest plate. He might have you in diamonds, but I'm not sure about that. And the zombie might not even have anything. So it's basically just a random chance of him having anything at all, which I really like. And yeah, let's move on to the next ability, being Summon Skeleton, which is also just Summon Zombie, but you summon a skeleton. And yeah, now these two mobs will get angry at any mob that like you hit. It wouldn't matter if like they hit you, but you have to hit them back. So if you hit this husk right here, you'll see that the skeleton starts shooting while the zombie starts chasing him. And yeah, this does not apply if like the mob hits you. So for example, if I just go into survival mode and let the husk hit me, they're not gonna do anything. You have to hit them, and then they're gonna start chasing after them. And yeah, you also have an ability that makes it so that this cooldown bar right here. So as you might have seen, it fills up whenever you use your ability, and it fills up to the max. So what this basically does is, when this cooldown bar basically reaches 0, all the mobs that you summoned are gonna despawn. So you can continuously just summon more and more mobs to like keep filling this up, so that they don't ever like despawn. They can't despawn if you don't let the bar like go to 0. So if you continuously just summon them, it's gonna go back to being full, and you can just keep them for how long as you want, as much as you want. But a downside that comes with this is that you basically take more damage when this bar is above 0. You take double damage from all sources. So like having your mobs summoned are going to be a bit dangerous, because if they don't protect you, like if they aren't able to get to you in time, you're most likely gonna die very easily. So yeah, let's move on to the next ability. Now, moving on to your next ability, you have Undead Attraction. So basically, if you move through your 8th, 9th, and 7th hotbar, you can actually see these like words showing up. And yeah, so this basically shows you the ability that you can activate with them. So Undead Attraction basically brings all the mobs that you summoned towards you, so like to where you are. So yeah, I do not recommend using this because I don't think there's a safety control for things like entity cramming. So if you summon too many mobs, you're just gonna crush yourself. And yeah, you also have an ability called Undead Absorption. Actually, I'm gonna go to that in a second. Let's move on to Freeze Undead. Freeze Undead, which is pretty self-explanatory. When you press the secondary key, all the undead mobs that you summoned will be frozen. So they won't be able to do anything. And yeah, you can unfreeze them by pressing it again. So yeah. And now moving on to Undead Absorption. You basically like kill all the undead mobs that you summoned, and you gain an equal amount of absorption to the amount of undead that you summoned. So yeah, that's about it. So if I just summon like 2 or like 1 skeleton and 1 zombie, and if I use Undead Absorption, you'll see that I gain 2 more hearts, like 4 more hearts, so absorption 2. So you'll gain a higher level of absorption according to how many mobs that died from this ability. So yeah, I think this is a really cool ability. Let's move on to your only downside being that villagers hate you, and so do Iron Golems. So yeah, and yeah, that's it for this origin. I know this was a very small origin. I mean, there isn't much to it. You can summon a zombie, you can summon a skeleton, you have this bar that'll deal that'll make everything deal double damage to you. And yeah, that's about it. You only have one weakness, which is quite surprising of an origin like to have. Like, it was a very bold decision to only give it one weakness. But don't get me wrong, I think this is a very balanced origin, not because it only has one weakness, but because the abilities aren't too overpowered. Like, the fact that you can just summon anything out of anywhere, like, that's not a thing in this origin. You actually have to have a piece of the dead body to actually summon it, which I think is a really cool idea, because, I mean, in most necromancy origins, they just, like, summon it out of nowhere, which I don't think makes sense. Like, you can't just bring souls out of nowhere. You need to know where the soul is from, and I feel like this origin does a great like thing of making that happen. And I like that there's no cooldown bar to actually like not a ridiculously long cooldown bar to tell me that I can summon multiple zombies at once, because a lot of origins have that. And you actually have to have the pieces, which I think is very cool. You also do, the fact that you take double damage when you summon a mob is also a very nice touch to this origin, which is why I think this is not overpowered, because you can't use your abilities right off the start like most origins can. So yeah, plus this does require a bit of grinding to actually use the abilities, because you need rotten flesh and bones. I mean, this origin, whether it's overpowered or underpowered, depends a lot on how you play Minecraft. Like, if you have a zombie farm and a skeleton farm, this origin is just gonna be like a cakewalk to play in, because you have basically unlimited supplies of bones and rotten flesh. You can just have your own army going wherever you want, and whenever you're desperate for help, you just have to press your absorption key, and you'll gain a ridiculous amount of hearts, as you can see, which I think is a very nice touch. And yeah, I think this is a very balanced origin. I mean, it doesn't have a whole lot of positives, but not too many negatives. I mean, at least the positives aren't like always accessible to you. It depends on how, like, the resources that you have, which I think is a very clever idea, instead of having just obnoxiously long cooldowns. So yeah, I really like this. And yeah, that's it for this video. If you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, bye.